It straight from the
Yeah,
horse,
yeah.
in case I did mess up something.
This is it, probably.
That's what you were looking for.
Probably down more, I think.
Could be.
I was going to say, I want your check, and the dog on your cover.
We are recording live.
I had my ABS and my fraction traveling in. Oh, okay. So I took it in. Yeah, we're getting hours later. No.
There's no incident.
Somebody reset you.
Oh, yeah,
He's not ready for this.
I usually just kind of squat and get a good burn going in the quads. And
Is it working?
Time to get up.
I pop back up.
I now call the Norton Special Council meeting to order for Monday, April 17th, 2017. The time is 7 p.m. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silent prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. I hope everyone had a pleasant Easter holiday. With that, we'll get on roll call. Ms. Richards.
Mr. McClone?
Here.
Mr. Kernan?
Here.
Mr. Pearson?
Here.
Mr. Towsley?
Here.
Mr. Pelot?
Here.
And Ms. Whitkey?
Here. New business, Committee of the Whole. First and only article we have under that is the 2017 road program striping and Silver Springs Road paving. Mr. Pearson?
Yes, I would like to move this Silver Spring paving agreement forward onto tonight's agenda. And we can discuss it there if there's no objection to that.
Discuss it where?
In the regular meeting, and you want to discuss it now. There's no reason to discuss it now.
We should probably just do it now because we don't have anything to move forward with the legislation or anything.
Okay. Well, it's pretty straightforward. We're just going to finish up the Silver Springs project, so. Anybody have any questions on that?
I would just like to add to it that when Mr. Pearson says finish up the Silver Springs project, what we're actually doing is we're going to do the road from Akron Wadsworth down to the project, so the entire road will then be brought up to speed, so to speak, and that'll be one whole road. We'll have off of our plate altogether. The road program, the striping, that's another animal, isn't it?
Right. We have separate legislation for both pieces. If you recall my memo that was sent out with the packet, Summit County, those bids are in. The good news is they were under budget. That you guys have already given us approval under ordinance for 2017 to enter into a contract. So Mr. White and I are moving ahead on that. Then, because we did have some savings, let me back up. Because we had some savings, we want to finish the paving on Silver Springs, as Mr. Pearson already indicated. That's an ordinance that will need to be moved to the agenda. And then the final piece is the striping, which that ordinance was already in your packet and is, I guess we have to move both of those, sorry. That legislation was already written. The striping / crack sealing is under the budget for about $20,000. The striping part came in for $13,707.78, so we just want to authorize the contract on that. The county bid that for us as well. So, and then the rest of that money will be used for crack sealing.
And this actually, some of this.
And we
has
do
to
that
come-
internally, I should have said that. We just buy the materials.
And we're going to have a board of control for part of this,
Yeah,
correct?
the only thing that we have not had a border control on is Silver Springs. We'll call that next week.
I guess we could be more specific. That's already where the construction was done. That has been paved, curbs are in, that has been finished. We're going to
Yeah,
go
well, they have to do the
261
top
to
coat.
the new.
They have to do the top coat,
Right.
Mr. Pearson, so we want the top coat to be from Wadsworth Road all the way down, so it's all
Right, that's what
one-
I'm saying.
yeah.
The latter portion was
Yep.
completed. I've been down there and looked at it, although it's not my
Yeah,
board.
it needs its final layer, but it's, yep, I was just out there. Dave and I were just out there. Grass is coming in
Did a
nicely.
good job. Looks nice.
It does really look nice.
Has the flooding been resolved in the yards around it?
Yes, the only thing we do have some issues up top that were unrelated to the area in the bottom, and those, Mr. White and I and our Josh Slago, we are working on those as well. So overall, I mean, the issues that we intended to get fixed with the Silver Spring project are well under control.
And the new diameter is more than adequate for the rains we've had then? I noticed the way they did the embankment, the concrete, looks like it would help stop the erosion. Anyhow, moving on.
Is this, so this will be on for next week's meeting? Are we going to waive second and third on this?
I see no reason not to for this.
I mean, we might as well get it moving.
Right.
The sooner you do, the sooner we can get all the work scheduled. We talked with Kavanaugh tonight. They are kind of sketching us in, but I said I needed to see how long it'll take us to approve.
Well, I think doing the additional readings, the purpose was to also give the public time, but this has been talked about and the project has moved forward, so I don't think it is a priority as other items might be.
Because I think they'd like to get back out there the first week in May.
Right.
So the sooner we can get it passed, the better.
I think we might as well just go ahead and move it
Right, so
forward.
let's move it on tonight and go from there.
I had a previous motion, Mr. Pearson, to add it to tonight's special agenda.
Right.
Is that
We
correct?
needed a second, didn't we?
Yes, we need a second still.
We have everything ready to go then? To add it just for first reading?
Or are we waiving
We're
second
going
and
to
third
waive
tonight?
second and third and just move it on and get it done tonight. I mean, this has been discussed.
Well, we
since-
do have to have border control.
Right, you're going to have a board of control, maybe as far as the
So it's next
legislative
week.
process, we can do that tonight.
We had expected you, if you were going to waive anything, to be if you want to do something first tonight, that's fine. We didn't expect passage till Monday after the border control, which is fine.
Is there any legality doing it prior to the board of control, Mr. Markey?
Yeah, we have to have border control first, this is what it, we've
Board
already
of
been through
control
this.
has to approve, and then.
Our historical practice has been to do border control first.
No,
That's-
want to do it that way. All right, let's just go to next week
Let's just put it
then.
on next week's agenda.
We'll do it that way.
For next week.
So you need a second to put it on next week's agenda?
Correct.
I'll second that.
Okay, so Carla, I'm sorry, Mr. Towesley?
Next week's a regular meeting.
Yeah.
After we vote, Madam President, if we could have just a conversation about roads real quick. Go ahead.
Okay, Carla, please.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes.
Mr. McGlone?
Yes.
Mr. Towesley?
Yes.
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
And Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
The only thing I wanted to add, because we don't have unfinished business, I just want to ask the administration if we've gotten any further on Johnson Road and the issues.
The ditches?
No, the pavement.
Well, Mr. White's here, if you want to address that. I did tell them, just so you know, that they've gotten the borings back, the county's been brought up to speed, and the county understands it's their responsibility, so maybe you can take it from there.
Yes, and the county has talked to the contractor, and the contractor's admitted, yes, the contractor was trying to say it was a moisture problem, and the borings showed it wasn't. So they said, okay, yes, we're going to come back and fix it. So the county has got them to accept the responsibility to come back and do all the repairs of those areas.
But we don't have a timeline yet, do we?
No, we don't. I'll check with them on that to see when they're going to come out. But he says they're definitely coming out to do it.
So that'd be like patchwork, and they're not redoing the whole road, I assume?
Well, no, they'll come in and cut out those areas and rework those.
Okay.
Once they do that, does that finally absolve them of any future warranty issues, for lack of better terminology? I mean, how long are they saddled with this?
Yes, and actually, anything that has shown up anything that was going to show up showed up by now.
But Mr. White, I think what Mr. Pearson's asking, does the warranty period start again after those repairs?
Oh, no,
are made?
this will finish it out, you're right.
So they're absolved of any future repairs or?
Yeah.
Just for the sake of discussion, what is the typical liability they have when they do, them or any other paving companies?
On a project like this, 1 year,
12 months from the
Yeah.
date of completion, we sign off on.
yeah, and they actually were past that, but he pointed to the fact that, well, this was your responsibility, and they were kind of trying to say it was something else that wasn't there, so,
Does the county have to post a bid bond?
yeah, they haven't posted a bond, yes.
Okay. And that also is returned to them and
Yeah, well, it gets released when they're, after the final inspections.
Mr. Pearson, there's probably two bonds posted. One would be a bid bond
performance.
to guarantee that they would follow through on their bid, and then the performance bond, which is what this would
Yeah, this is the
probably fall
performance
under.
bond part of it, yes.
So 24 months total.
Yeah, in this case, it really came out to that because they pointed to the fact it was their responsibility, and there's some question that went back and forth on that, so it went a little longer than normal, but because of, we had to resolve the responsibility on that, so.
Okay, thank you.
Well, they did some repairs on that almost immediately after the original construction, did they not?
Yes.
So what are they doing different this time than last time to ensure we don't have the same?
Well, they're actually cutting it out this.
Yeah, they're going to come in and repair it properly, and those areas that showed up were the areas that there was problem soil, and that's why they showed up that way. So by now, and our borings kind of confirmed that, so that's why we went and dug the borings down, and that's why we're doing more borings ahead of time, so we can anticipate the problems and not wait until after, when they show up, so.
So we should have confidence that
Yes,
this time
yes.
it'll, okay.
So when you say cut out, they're cutting out the surface, but you also stated the gist of the problem was
Yeah,
the
whatever they need
underlying
to do to
materials.
make it solid, yes.
Okay, do they do any work in the roadbed and stone or add anything to help reinforce the, other than, like I said, I'm thinking if they just cut it out and do it again, if you still have the underlying
Well, no,
problem with soil.
they will be cutting out whatever they need to do to make that solid, yes.
Okay.
So there was some
So they're going to
spot-
reinforce the roadbed, et cetera?
Yes,
to
that's
accept the
right.
new surface, all right.
Is this something we should have inspectors look at again, or
Well, they will have the inspector out there when they're doing the work, so.
Is that independent? I mean, do you inspect it?
because we originally did on that job have inspectors, did we not?
Yeah, the county's going to have an inspector out there to make sure the contractor does everything right.
That didn't exactly pay off last time.
But they weren't looking at the base. It was
Okay.
just a resurfacing, which, to Mr. White's point, that's why it's good that we're doing, this was one of the roads that we did not do borings ahead of time. We started after that. So it's been worthwhile to do the borings
Yeah.
ahead of time. It may cost us a little bit more, like, for example, Houston, that's costing us a little bit more to get redone this year because we have to redo a lot of the base. And physically looking at it, you kind of knew that, but we have now scientific proof of the areas where we need to make sure are reinforced.
Okay.
And we started that, unfortunately, after Johnson Road.
So the county does their own inspection on their own work?
It's not, no, that's
No,
a
the
contractor.
county does inspection on the contractor's work.
On the contractor.
To make sure the
But
contractor-
they hire the contractor, correct?
Well, it's bid.
It's bid out, and then we contract with the county to do inspection on that because it's the most efficient way for us to do that.
So you rely 100% on their report and don't do any further inspection yourself as city engineer?
Yeah, essentially. I mean, I do coordinate a lot with the county on that stuff and talk to the inspectors myself, yes.
Is that all?
Thank you.
Thank you. Introduction of prior legislation
We need a second
for,
piece of action. We have two separate pieces of legislation. The
Oh.
one we addressed was striping. Now we need to do the one about Silver Springs.
And so,
You need a second for the
okay,
striping.
I will second that.
Okay. Carla, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes.
Mr. McGlone?
Yes.
Mr. Towesley?
Yes.
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
And Ms. Whipke?
yes.
Thank you.
Now, introduction of prior legislation. Ordinance 41, 2017, Mr. Kernan.
Thank you, Madam President. I offer ordinance 41, 2017 for its second reading and ask the clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance prohibiting cultivators, processors, and retail dispensaries licensed under Chapter 3796 of the Ohio Revised Code within the city of Norton and declaring an emergency.
And that's a second reading only.
Ordinance 44, 2017, I believe this actually goes to Mr. Pearson.
Yes, the insurance renewal. We want to dispense with the third reading and move forward tonight, as we talked about last week. Would the clerk please read 44, 2017, please?
An ordinance authorizing an agreement for property and casualty insurance and declaring an emergency.
I would like to dispense with the third reading.
I'll second.
Okay, Carla, would you call the vote on that, please?
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. McGlone?
Yes.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes.
Mr. Towesley?
Yes.
And Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
Okay, now I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 44, 2017.
I'll second.
Carla, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. McGlone?
Yes.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes.
Mr. Towesley?
Yes.
And Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
Well, actually, regular.
One question regarding the striping. Do we have a timeline for that, and do we know exactly which roads they will be doing?
Yeah, I'll provide you guys, Mr. White and I just saw each other today. We were both off Friday, and so we'll pull out the list. We have linear feet, but we'll match that up with what roads we had submitted. It's 2,000 feet of Wadsworth Road, and I don't have that list with me. You don't happen to have it with you, Dave, do you? I'll send you guys a
No,
quick
well,
memo
yeah.
or email to give you the list of roads.
Okay.
Yeah, not a problem.
And regarding potholes, it's that time of the year, so getting a lot of calls. I assume we have,
We're out every day, every day. But
perfect.
if you have a hot area, let us know, and we'll make sure it's getting checked.
Okay, thank you.
And the good news is Route 21 by 585, that is scheduled for June. Am I correct?
Yeah, well, the contract starts in June. It goes from June to August, and it actually covers some spot repairs in 3 different counties in District 4 and District 8. But it's he said the bulk of it is 21, so we don't know exactly the timing, but it's going to be done this summer for sure.
So we're going to hold it together till then.
Yes, some
Expansion joints along 21.
yeah, some of the tough areas. And they have a program to do repair and resurface of all of 585 and 21 that's in Summit County. But they delayed this part because of all the work going on 76. And that's part of the detour route for some of the 76 work. So they're delaying the major part of that till after the 76 improvements, but they doing the spot repair to come in and hit the worst spots to hold it over for a couple of years. So that's what they're doing. That's why they did the whole thing that way. That's why they did it that way.
Along with all the different contractors, I'd asked you last week, Mrs. Carr, that did everybody pull the proper permits as a contractor permit for the city, including the sewer folks? I think it's $110 for a contractor's permit, which that would have nothing to do with Barberton. That should be ours.
Yeah, because it's a separately bid contract, their contract actually covers all of those pieces and parts.
Okay.
As a bid contract for public infrastructure.
Because it's under that Barberton umbrella.
I'm sorry?
Because the particular portion we're talking about, that sewer project's under the Barberton's umbrella now. So they would do that. They don't have to pay any additional contractor fees.
Well, because it's for our infrastructure.
Right.
So generally, there's not been a separate permit for that. It's just covered under the contract.
Right, but the contract's under Barberton's jurisdiction. That's why I was wondering. I know we do have
I know, but they're building it within our right-of-way.
okay, but we're not due the $100, I think it's 110 contractors permits that any contractor working within the boundaries of the city has to pay. That goes
It's
to
my
Barberton.
understanding from what I've checked into that it is covered because it's under a publicly bid contract. If Mr. Markey feels differently, you can let me know.
No, I'm
but-
not going to quibble over $100, but if it's $100 due to the city, I want it. So,
All right.
all right, thank you.
Mr. White, before we finally wrap this up, when you were talking about 585 and they're going to basically spot work on it?
Yeah, well, 585 and 21 are in the same,
Yeah, I understand
ODOT
that.
project.
Now, I'm looking at let's talk about Worcester Road, where it coming all the way into Barberton. I thought we were going to do that whole entire strip.
part of that Worcester Road is actually part of the 585
Right.
and 21 and all that interchange part there. So we will be getting into a little more detail with ODOT of exactly where their part is beginning and ending.
Right, but we did look at taking it all the way down Worcester Road at that time, didn't we?
I'm not sure if
I'm
we've
not
covered
sure.
that
I thought
completely.
Mr. Towsley had requested that.
We discussed it anyhow.
Yeah.
But it was however ODOT bid that.
Well, let's kind of look at it like this. We're doing Silver Springs, so it all looks nice
Yeah.
at one time.
I
Why do
know.
we want to leave this little bit sitting out here on?
Yeah, I'll make a
on
note to
Worcester?
look into that, because if it's not covered under the ODOT work anyway, we could work out a side agreement with ODOT to extend it if we want
I
to.
want to make
But we'll
sure
look into
everyone
that.
understands it's not like a complete repaving. It's just the areas that are bad.
Well, right now, they're doing the spot paving, spot repairs, but,
They're going
You're
to do the whole
talking for in
thing.
the future.
yeah, 2 years from now, 2 or 3 years, when they get done with all the detour routes on 76, and they're going to do that whole thing.
Right.
By that time, we'll make sure that we incorporate everything we want into that
All right.
and work that out with ODOT. I'll make a special note to.
Well, that we
cover
have discussed with ODOT.
Yeah.
We can verify. What I thought you meant was right now, spot repair, you wanted it to go down further. You're talking about the
She's talking
final
about in the
product.
future, but to her point,
I want
if it's
whatever we
delayed
can
3
do.
years, I don't know that section of road's going to last 3 years.
We'll review it again with ODOT.
And I'm with Paul there. I'm not sure that's going to last that long.
What's that?
That stretch, I'm not sure it would last 3 years.
Just right in front of J.R. Wheel there.
Well, first,
Look at
question I'd like to ask, that is still designated a state highway?
Well, 585 ends at 21, and so when you go up onto 21, 585 ends there. So after the 21, the 585-21 interchange, it is local road.
I guess what I'm driving at, if it's, to what portion, distance, et cetera, is considered a state designate? And
Yeah.
if so, don't they have the liability to take care of that? And if they don't, or is a percentile, what is our responsibility percentage?
Yeah, and that's one of the things I'll have to clarify because they consider the ramp area as part of of 585 and 21. So the end, what do they consider the end of the ramp? That will be the point where we'll go. So we'll have to clarify just what that point is. That's
If a
ours.
state highway runs through your jurisdiction, it's the jurisdiction's responsibility to do maintenance. Unless it's major overhaul like this, that's
Yeah.
when the state comes in. But the general maintenance is ours.
But then even beyond that, the part of Worcester Road stuff that's beyond ODOT, we still have to take care of that no matter what. So I'll clarify just where that transition point is.
So beyond our
We need to know that
jurisdiction,
anyway.
Barberton has had to take care of their section of Worcester Road then?
Yeah, Barberton takes care of their part of
State's
Worcester Road.
not provided any funding or percentile of funding, nothing?
That's correct.
Okay.
Next regular council meeting is scheduled for next Monday, April 24th, 7 p.m. There being no further business come before council, this meeting is adjourned at 7:23.
ABS light in my check-in later on. I have a light tape over. And then I got one of those machines where I turn it off. And then it pops back on and grab it. My ABS system was turning my battery. And when I heard how much it was going to cost, I said, unplug it. That's what I did.
When mine originally came,
Right.
Have that ready to sign,
No, as soon as I find it.